Welcome back to 30 Takes in 30 Days, the NBA season preview series going from the worst to the best of the upcoming NBA season in terms of championship likelihood. This is day 2, talking about Detroit, who are for the 6th year in a row an absolute bummer. They're a team without hope. They have no recognizable path to success. They're probably going to be the worst team in the league this season again, and while they will be trying to win games, the 2024-25 Detroit Pistons are proof that if the basketball gods exist, they have abandoned us. If you're here from the NRL videos, these guys are the West Tigers of the NBA. Coming off a 14-68 season when they lost 28 games in a row, they were rewarded with the 5th pick for the 3rd season in a row, which they used on Ron Holland II. And if there was a year for the basketball gods to bless the Pistons with another number 1 pick, it would have been a cruel twist of fate to give them a number 1 pick in this role player draft, where they could have acquired a guy worse than all their starters. Ron Holland is a rip-and-run player who's great in transition. He showed some good defensive upside, averaged 19 points a game for the G League Ignite, and who shot 24% from deep. So he joins the long list of athletic, high-upside wings who can't shoot on Detroit's roster. They also picked up Bobby Clintman from Cairns, and I'm only mentioning him because he played in the NBL. Notable transactions from Detroit's offseason, there's a bunch. Chimezie Metu, Jalen Noel, Evan Fournier, James Wiseman, and Malachi Flynn, the owner of the most unlikely 50 ball of all time, were all allowed to walk. They traded Quentin Grimes for the Mavs for Tim Hardaway Jr. and 3 second-rounders, then signed Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris, and picked up Paul Reed from waivers. Take Paul Reed out of that group, that's like 3 least effective players in the league last season. Did Detroit's front office not watch Dallas, Milwaukee, or Philly games? 2 years, $52 American for Tobias John Harris, my God. I'll move on from that, but 52 is in $52 million, Tobias Harris. Sorry. Detroit also gave Cade Cunningham a rookie extension of 5 years, $226, because they have to do something. But I'll come back to Cade. And Simone Fontecchio, 2 years, $16 million, which is fine. I like Simone. Also heading out the door over the summer is Monty Williams, who made it 1 year into his 5-year, $78.5 million deal, and one of the main architects of the Pistons' sadness last season. I think every NBA fan, from the casual observer to the league pass sicko, watched more Detroit Pistons games than they expected to last season because of the team's record-breaking losing streak, which suddenly became appointment viewing as it began to approach record territory. The game that they almost beat the Celtics was one of the greatest days of the regular season. When they eventually beat the Raptors, everyone was watching that game that day. In those games, I remember the collective feeling of confusion whenever Monty Williams would watch his young team go on a run, bring the game close, play with some effort, and Monty would respond by inserting Alec Burks, giving him the instructions to freeze out all the young guns. As that losing streak got longer and longer, we saw Cade giving his absolute best and showing us flashes of the player that he could have been all the time if he'd just been on even a half-decent team all these years. The less said about last year for Detroit, the better, but this season's might be worse than last year's, I fear. In place of Monty Williams comes JB Bickerstaff, who inherits a logjam at the 2 and the 3. It's the aforementioned vets who will be expecting minutes and a bunch of high-ceiling, low-floor young guys who are all stepping on each other's toes trying to reach their potential. Jaden Ivey, Ron Holland, Asur Thompson, Wendell Moore, Bobby Clintman, even guys who are a bit further along like Jalen Duren and Cade Cunningham, they're all just overcrowded plants stuffed into the one pot, and they all need sunlight and water and nutrients to survive and flourish and become the very good players that they could one day be if only Detroit could give them more than just drips. Cade gets the full rookie extension, and if this was under the old CBA, no one would even ask any questions. Every half-decent player used to get a full freight second contract, but there might be reason to ask in an era where young stars need to produce more in their rookie contracts why Cade isn't even in the conversation for the best players under 25 when the guy taken with the first pick the year before him, Anthony Edwards, and the year after, Paolo Banchero, both are. Obviously, Ant and Paolo have been in much better situations than Cade has been. The man has spent his entire career just in hell. I still like Cade. He averaged 23 points last season and 7.5 assists, and who knows how much that assist number could grow if the team was any good. He plays his best in big games, his defense improved last season, his shooting has gotten better, I like his physicality, and every measurable stat about his game that isn't affected by his teammates has improved year on year. I'm still in on Cade as the man to lead Detroit out of the doldrums. The other guy who can help him is Asur Thompson, who had a really impressive rookie season. The numbers weren't great, round up, and he was 9, 6, and 2, and while he can't exactly shoot, if he can turn into an even average shooter, he's all upside, because this kid is a truly unique defensive talent. In Asur Thompson's first 19 games, he had 29 blocks, and for the first month of the season, he averaged as many blocks as Rudy Gobert and Jaren Jackson Jr., and at that time, he was the only player in the NBA who was top 15 in rebounds, blocks, and steals as a rookie. He's big enough to defend most bigs and mobile enough to defend the other team's ball handler, and he's basically technically perfect on D. He needs to learn to shoot before I compare him to someone else, but seeing as he excels in basically every effort stat, I wouldn't be surprised if he'd made 4,500 shots a day every day this offseason. Now he's a 38% shooter from deep. The third guy that could decide this team's future is Jalen Duren, who emerged as the permanent number 1 option at center last season. Duren is entering his third season now, and he'll be 21 for most of the year, coming off a really impressive sophomore year. He's a monster on the boards and a super athlete. He's just great all around the rim as the roll man, but he's not yet trusted outside the paint. Nearly half of his shots were directly at the rim last season, but he made 75% of them, and his connection with Cade on the pick and roll can only go from great to excellent. I think defensively, he's barely scratched the surface. He's intimidating based on his athleticism alone, which oftentimes makes up for the fact that he's got lost on a possession. Jaden Ivey, I'm still really high on. I think he's a special talent, but I worry that the last 2 years of mistreatment might have set his career down a path that will be difficult to revert. Maybe JB can do with Ivey what he did with Garland, but I hope, but I'm not sure. And if I'm so high on those three guys, why have I got Detroit as my second worst team? Because I was high on them last year too, and look where that got me. I'm cautiously optimistic though that Detroit will eventually turn it around with the guys that they have now, and maybe they've sowed the seeds of some success last season with the acquisition of Thompson and the improvement of Duren and Cunningham, but I still don't think that they're anywhere out of the swamp yet. So that's day 2 of 30 takes in 30 days. We're still in the junk realm where I've got 6 teams, but every team in the league is fascinating in its own way. Join me for day 3 tomorrow, where for the first time we're heading west. Bye.